Your Humanities Half Hour is brought to you by the Northern Marianas Humanities Council, navigating the human experience together.
Hafide Tiro, and welcome to Your Humanities Half Hour. I'm Catherine Perry, and today we are talking canoes and shipbuilding from the perspective of a shipbuilder, Bob Perkins. Bob, welcome.
Thank you. Aloha.
Welcome to the show, and welcome back to the Marianas.
Thank you for having me. This is great. This is a real treat.
So you recently retired as director of the Marine Education and Training Center, Honolulu Community College. I saw a picture of you at your retirement. You had lays up to the top of your head. Like, that's a lot of love.
Up to my eyeballs, yes, and it was very much appreciated.
What do you guys do at the center?
We actually had a program, 2-year program, culminating in an associate in applied science degree in small vessel fabrication and repair. So the student could come in and learn not only marine electrical, they could learn marine plumbing, a little bit of design work, some engine work, and then a lot of composites work, and that is fiberglass work, because most of the boats that we see now are all fiberglass. Not many wooden boats anymore, so but we go into the wooden side as well. So you get a very well-rounded education, and hopefully from there you can apprentice on a particular area of boat building that you'd like to specialize in.
So what brings you to the Marianas?
Actually, Pete and Emma visited the school in Hawaii.
Pete and Emma Perez.
Pete and Emma
500
Perez,
sales.
the directors, I believe, of 500 Sales came and we're looking around, and we just hit it off, and whatever we were doing, they were very much interested in trying to get started here in Saipan. We had a 36,000 square foot building. We had all the tools and all the toys, if you will, that you would need to have a small vessel fabrication and repair program. And so it was like Emma and Pete went into a dream on what they could possibly have in Saipan. And as the talks progressed, they said, boy, we have to find somebody who might be able to help us to teach our people on how to build the modern day canoes with modern day materials. Well, I said, well, I wouldn't mind going down and seeing you. And of course, that started my first trip down here, and they came up to see me, I think 2 or 3 more times. And then they finally found a hull they wanted. I came out, I believe it was in July of this year, and we started looking at the plug, which is the surface area that we are actually going to build the mold that then the hulls can come off of. And this trip that I just got here, I'll be here in, I guess, another 3 weeks. We're actually going to build, we call it the tooling, so that the school, or Pete and Emma and their people, can actually start building hulls for a 40-foot Chamorro. They're going to make it a double canoe, and I think it's going to be great. I'm hoping that they're very successful with it, and that's why I'm here, to maybe impart my knowledge onto their people.
So anybody who follows what 500 Sales does knows that, which I didn't realize before, I don't know why it didn't occur to me, but like each canoe has a name, just like a ship, and a story behind it. So which of the many canoes that they have you chosen to be the mold that you're going to create for future production?
Well, believe it or not, the mold came from a design that was drawn up in I believe it was 1642. Don't quote me on that, but it was several hundreds of years ago. And the idea was to try and simulate what the Spanish saw the Chamorro people sailing in.
Documented by George Anson, was it? Anson.
Anson.
I can't remember his first name.
Yeah,
but
and I'm sorry, I'm very bad too. But
He
I
made
think it was
very
Anson.
detailed schematics.
Very
of the
detailed.
Chamorro.
Yeah, we call them lines drawings.
Okay.
But yeah, schematic would be a good term as well. And so that was the one that Pete wanted to use. And now we have, again, if this is a plug, we're now building the mold that will be shaped over the plug. And once the mold's done, we will have this shape that we can then pull any number of canoe hulls out of. So what we're doing is we're making the idea of having multiple boats a reality. Now, whether there'll be 500 sails, I don't know, but I think they'll have enough and hopefully enough interest so that they can start having a lot of tourism and maybe a lot of commerce being used on these boats.
So you first took to the craft of shipbuilding growing up in California.
I did.
Came to Hawaii as a young adult. What was your first thought when you saw the Pacific Island canoes based on your Western training? What stood out to you?
The fact that they could go so fast. You have to remember that again, if you couldn't tell, I'm fairly white, I'm Norwegian, and my experience had been in Western sailboats, right? And they don't go very fast compared to the South Pacific Islands. And that's what got me really started on the whole idea of double canoes, catamarans as they're called now, and flying proas like the Chamorro and the Carolines have. So yeah, it was a pretty easy one to go to because speed is very greedy, and the boats that are built here and are designed out of the South Pacific are much faster than what the Spanish or the French or the English were sailing in the 1400s, 1500s, the 1900s. It's pretty amazing. So that was a big thing, big impetus that got to me.
And we do want to talk more about that in the second half of our show, but could we go back to I believe it was the 1970s, with the revival of traditional maritime traditions in Hawaii, and the input of the late master navigator Mau Pialug in helping our Hawaiian brothers and sisters rediscover that heritage that was almost lost. You were there at that time.
I was.
What was your part?
It's interesting that none of the Polynesian peoples have a written language. I'm sure most all of you know that. And so all of what we have were molelo. They were stories that were handed down to people on what had happened and what type of boats. And it wasn't until Captain Cook came in the 1700s that we actually got written representation of what the Hawaiians in particular, their canoes looked like and how they could sail them so much faster than the boats that came out of England and out of Europe. I think that's where the whole idea behind the boats started, is with the Cook people, Captain Cook and all his people, wanting to see how far these boats could go. And of course the Hawaiians wanted to do that because they knew that's how they got to Hawaii, right? 2,200 miles away from the Marquesas, which is where we think the original Hawaiians came from. But how did they get here? I mean, there wasn't any steamships, so they had to figure out how to get here and to get home. Because if they didn't get home, nobody would know that they got here. So an interesting dynamic, I'm going to call it, that really didn't have any basis in fact. It was just storytelling and molelo. And it's obviously true. Hawaii wanted to prove it. And so they decided to build a canoe as closely akin to what they felt the Polynesian canoes would look like. And that was the birth of Hokulea. And Hokulea was built and launched in 1975. And she sailed to Tahiti down the Kealakahiki Highway, we call it, between Hawaii and Tahiti for the first time in 1976. And there's an irony there because that's the 200th birthday of the United States, and it was also what Hawaii was doing to celebrate the 200th anniversary. But the other thing that it did is it just started an entire renaissance, an entire resurgence of people wanting to know about their language, their culture, and everything Hawaiian. And it's still going strong today. So, and I think it carried on into other island nations, Tahiti, Samoa, Tonga, and I think most all of them now, including Saipan now, are starting to look that this is an entire cultural renaissance, almost a revolution, to show the rest of the world that the largest nation on the world, that being the Pacific Ocean, can be explored by peoples who didn't necessarily have to come from Europe.
Were you a part of the actual construction of Hokulea?
I was not involved in the original construction, though I knew some of the people. Rudy Choi did some of the work on the design, but I did a lot of the work when Hokulea was rebuilt, and I believe it was 2010.
Okay.
She just had her 50th anniversary here in 2025. So
is she still in the water?
She's in New Zealand right now.
So the boat is 50 years old and is still going strong.
Still going strong.
Wow.
Still going strong.
How is that when she's not made of fiberglass?
It's the people. It's the people. The people care for her. They love her. Hawaii, and I'm sure a lot of the Pacific nations feel that the canoes have mana. They have a spirit. And it's important to keep that spirit alive, and it's important to make sure that that spirit grows and can help the next generation of people. So, and I think Hokulea will be here quite a while longer. Yeah.
Maybe longer than some of us.
Yeah, well, I sure hope so. I sure hope so. It's 50 years for a wooden boat. It's pretty amazing.
It is. It is.
Yep.
We will be back after this break with more storytelling with Bob Perkins.
Looking for resources about Marianas history, culture, and more? Well, check out the Northern Marianas Humanities Council's collection. Our extensive video, audio, and photographic library can be found on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram at 670 Humanities. Or check out the written resources on our website at nmhcouncil.org. And for those who prefer a good book, we also have a selection of local publications for purchase. So, dive in, explore, and share your comments as we navigate the human experience together.
Welcome back. We are chatting with shipbuilder Bob Perkins about Pacific Island canoes. Bob, imagine this. You're in the middle of the ocean. There's a moderate typhoon that you're heading into, unfortunately. Would you rather be in a Pacific Island, a 50-foot Pacific Island canoe, or a 50-foot sailboat when you are in the middle of that typhoon? And why? Of course, we'd all choose the sailboat if we weren't in the typhoon because, we want to have hot coffee and all that stuff. Yeah. So,
kind of thing.
So if you had to choose, and you've actually done many long distance voyages. So knowing what you know about these two types of vessels, if you were in the middle of a typhoon, maybe you can either choose or you can tell me what might be the advantages or the disadvantages.
I would definitely be in a double canoe. And I would not want to be in I'm going to call it a Western style sailboat. A couple of reasons. The first one that I used to tell my students, I call it the cork philosophy. The the Western style sailboats, I'm sure most people know, stay upright because they have a bunch of ballast, lead, stones, rocks, whatever have you, in the bottom of their boat so that they don't turn over. The Polynesian canoes have two hulls, and that's how they gain their stability. But it's also why they are so lightweight, because they're not having to carry around all of this, we call it ballast, within inside the boat. So, with that being said, we can get out of the way much, much faster from a storm than the sailboats can that are from the western side, for the most part, And because it's a cork philosophy, you can just ride it out, I think, much easier. And my experience has been cork, it just bobs, right?
Okay.
You don't have to stand up to the waves. Well, you stand up, but you can just go over them and down the other side. And the hurricanes that I've been in have proven that true. I've been in 2 hurricanes in monohulls, we call them, the Western style boats. Very bumpy, very rough, very scary. And I've been in 2 hurricanes in traditional voyaging canoes. And though it was still scary, I'm not going to lie, it seemed that the double canoes fended much better through the rough weather than the monohull boats did. So that's based on experience. I firmly believe that. And again, you can go faster. So
you might be able to
get
outrun.
out of the way. No, absolutely. Or you can get out of the way. You know, there's in any typhoon or hurricane, there's a good quadrant and a really bad quadrant, depending upon which way the hurricane is going to move. And you want to try to get to obviously the good quadrant and try to get out of the way. So the faster you can do that, the odds are more likely that you won't have to face up to all of the dangers that the bad quadrant can give you.
So I know with an outrigger canoe, which you must be able to upright it should it tip over or you intentionally tip it over. Can you do that with a sailboat?
With a monohull?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
No.
What about a double hull Polynesian, like these double hulls? Are they able to upright that
if we can just talk physics for a
Sure.
moment.
Let's go technical.
Yeah. The double canoe, if I can use my hand, when it's sailing like this, and when it flips over like this. So you have the same buoyancy, you have the same stability, whether it's right side up or upside down. Okay. Well, what does that have to do with anything? Well, number one, all of your stores, all of your goods, all of your water, all of your food is still there next to you.
Because it was secured.
Because it was there, right? As opposed to a monohull that if it flips over, it's going to fill with water, and chances are it's going to sink. And so then what do you have? You probably have a life raft, and you probably have a calamity pack, we call it, and it'll have some food and some water, but nowhere near what a double canoe would have in terms of flipping over. Can you right let's say, 60-foot double canoe by yourself?
That's a big canoe.
Probably not.
Okay.
Probably not. But you have something to hold on to. You have a station or some type of support structure that you can live in. You can still get into the hulls. You're going to be wet, but you can get into the hulls. You can get out of the weather. And I would much rather be on a double canoe than a monohull.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks
Yeah.
for that perspective. So we were chatting with this before the show, but there's a particular reason, again, going to physics, why for example, the Chamorro proa or the Carolinianois, some of the other canoes of the Pacific Islands are super fast. Why the Spanish called it the flying proa when they came. What is that? What is that? What's the physics, Bob?
The physics behind that. Number one is that all of these proas, flying proas, and for the most part, most of the outrigger canoes are very, very narrow for their length. So if we're talking a ratio, they may be 13 to 1, 13 to 2, 13 to 3. So though they may be, let's say, 40 feet long, they may only be 4 feet across. Let's look at a Western style boat. 40 feet long, it's probably going to be 12 or 13 feet across. So it has a larger surface area that's having to push through the waves and having to push through the water and basically bulldoze its way through the swells and through the waves, as opposed to a proa, all right? If you can, it's going to sound crazy, but I'll say it anyway. If you can picture a spoon trying to mush through butter.
I was going to say cake, but go ahead.
A cake. And then look at a knife trying to go through the butter. Which is going to be easier? Well, obviously, the knife is going to be able to slice through the butter much easier than a spoon can be. The spoon would be representative more of the Western style boats, and the knife would be much more representative of the boats that we see here in Saipan and Carolines. So that's the big reason. They're just basically faster because they're narrow, right? The disadvantage, they can't carry as much. Well, okay, you can't carry as much, but you have two of whatever you want to carry. So it's not that impossible to get what you need on the boat to do long distance voyaging.
And what about the shape of the hull?
The shape of the hulls here are what we call asymmetrical, and if I can use my hands, one side is going to be quite curved, the other side is going to be straight up and down. And the reason for that is, if you can picture airplane wing, if you look at the top of the airplane wing, it has a nice curve to it, and if you look at the bottom of the airplane wing, it's fairly flat. And the reason for that is so we can get a difference in the wind speed going over that wing. And as it goes over the curved side, it's going to take more time and more pressure to go over that curved side. And physically speaking, it's going to give us lift. It's going to want the wing to go up a little bit. Well, now if you could envision that same wing being vertical in the water, that's what we have on a lot of the canoes that we see in this area, is that they're asymmetrical. We have a very flat side to the leeward, and we have a very rounded side to windward. And that allows the people to sail the boats much closer to the wind than you can with a symmetrical hull. I'm sorry. So,
okay, for the layman's in our audience, what can you explain what you mean by sailing closer to the wind and why that's an advantage?
if we were looking at the wind coming and hitting you in the nose, you are sailing into the wind if it's hitting you in the nose. If it's hitting you in the back of the head, you're sailing off the wind. You're sailing downwind, right? Well, as you know, you may be sailing and you want to get to an island that you can see when you're looking at it. So that means the wind's on your nose. Does that make sense? And so what we want to do is we want to have a boat that can be as close to put us to our nose direction as we can possibly get. If we have to go left and right a lot, it's going to take us much longer to get there, and that's called tacking. And so we have to, the more we have to tack, the more time it's going to take, and it's just much better if we can get there in a more straight angle than if we have to tack back and forth.
You have been in the Pacific, mostly in Hawaii, now here in the Marianas. Other places that you've traveled to for most of your life. You said like 4 decades or something like that.
Shh.
What? That's what you said. You said it.
I know.
Okay.
4 decades, okay. I started when I was 2.
Yes, okay. How has this work in this environment, culture, shaped you as a person, you feel?
Oh my gosh. That's a loaded question. I've got to start by saying is that most of the people that I have run into within the South Pacific, including Hawaii, are the friendliest, the nicest people that I could ever want to see. And I've sailed the Atlantic, I've sailed in Europe, I've sailed in the Great Lakes, so this is based on somewhat first-hand knowledge. And when you have people like that, they tend to respect you, and you tend to respect them back. And I think that that's what really gets to me when I'm sailing in these waters throughout the South Pacific, is that no matter where you go, you're not treated as somebody jaundiced looking at you like, what do you want from me? They're welcoming you in with open arms. And in fact, a lot of the traditions and protocols that we have within the Hawaiian community are just that. We're asking permission to come to shore, and then the people on shore have some chance to allow us to come on shore. So that's the biggest thing I've gotten. Just the people are so friendly.
I think it's rubbed off.
Well, thank you. I mean, it's very easy to be here. It's very easy to be here and to share some of my thoughts with you and with your constituents.
Thank you for your time today, for coming from the boathouse to make time for our chat. Any final thoughts before we go?
I would like to say that, I would like to see more people come down to 500 Sails and see what they're doing and how they can become involved in not only perhaps building the boat, but learning the traditions of sailing within the Saipan area, learn traditions swimming. They give swimming lessons. Something that I didn't know is that a lot of the people don't know how to swim. And so they give swimming lessons. If somebody would like to start a maritime vocation, they have classes where they can teach you how to navigate, they can teach you how to sail, and then that can lead maybe into getting a job on a tugboat or having a fishing boat or something like that. So I think if more people could come down to 500 Sails and see what's happening, I think they would really be amazed. And it's all for the people here in Saipan and within the area. So.
And if they come by in the next couple of weeks, they can catch you at work.
You can. You can come see me even dirtier than what I am now. And you can see what we're doing. You can see the canoe. I mean, it's big. It's pretty amazing when you come down and see it. That 40 feet, and we're doing it basically all by hand. I mean, we have power tools, but it's all by hand. So.
Thank you, Bob. Wish you all the best in your efforts and what is on the horizon for you.
Oh, well, thank you. If you ever need somebody to talk to again, let me know.
Talk physics.
Physics, yeah.
Thanks, Bob. Our guest today has been Bob Perkins. He is a shipbuilder, former director of the Marine Education and Training Center at Honolulu Community College, now here in the Marianas helping 500 Sails with their canoe building. This has been your Humanities Half Hour. I'm Catherine Perry.
Your Humanities Half Hour has been made possible in part by a major grant from the National Endowment for the Humanities. Democracy demands wisdom. Any views, findings, conclusions, or recommendations expressed in this program do not necessarily represent those of the National Endowment for the Humanities. For more information or to share your thoughts, contact the Northern Marianas Humanities Council at nmhcouncil.org or on social media at 670 Humanities. That's 670 Humanities.